Hey guys, what's going on? We're still going live here. Um, I had to rewind it just a little bit just so I can let you guys know that I have a high school diploma, but my pronunciation of these words is a little difficult for me. So if you could just bear with me. And well, that was just pretty much it. I hope you guys is learning something. This is part two of the rabbit proof fence. Like I said, I rewinded it just a little bit. They're talking about the military, how they decided it was okay to bring the military in, and when they didn't need it. So here we go, part two.
More public service. The widespread abuse, the pedophilic activity, the sale of sexual petrol, all the foreign activities. What's interesting is that 3 police inquiries are yet to identify a pedophile ring, have yet to identify all this child abuse that was reported at the time.
Aboriginal people are often stereotyped in the media and demonised for problems that are not entirely their own.
For a lot of people in Australia, they get informed through the media. And if the media is portraying a certain picture, then that's what people believe. There's always going to be the tensions between how the media reports an issue and the real issue on the ground. You might have 1 or 2 offenders from a certain racial group, which is never presented like that. It's presented as if the whole group has offending behaviour. And they blame every time young people for drug, for alcohol, for murder, everything. And they don't see their own backyard. Their son is murdering more people, stealing more things, drinking more drug, or taking more drug. They have seen that.
They're the one which bring the vengeance in here. All the selfish law and the sexual breaching and a man to man, woman to woman, kids, and the disco and this sort of thing. Now they're blaming to the Aboriginal people and the Indigenous people, which is we haven't got one of those. Before the 77, the Queen Authority was landing in Australia.
We can see their westernized world, they're heading into destruction. We are seeing it being done in our community. And their way is not of our ways.
We don't know the direction the children are learning. Young women and young men, what good are they learning? What and seeing and listening to and filling their hearts with.
When exposed to another culture, like through the American movies, TV that bring in Western values, where there are such things as vindictiveness, violence, then those things must be passed on.
Increasing Western influence, combined with the undermining of their own culture, has created social breakdown in many Aboriginal communities.
We have given reference to our kids, and we thought that was going to be passed on, and when it's stopped in the factory, you can see the evidence. We had things like breaking, sniffing, people going into places, burglaries, because that wisdom is not being passed on.
We live in a sage of anarchy. This is the people thing. Subculture is a culture that is doing who we are. You cannot say it's Aboriginal people It's a disease that's just moving right across the world. And there's no law.
That's been introduced to us. Everything that comes with it is an invader of our system, our people, our life, our mind, our very name within.
Community is now getting so much contamination, but this only affects the communities, but it doesn't affect the homeland.
Like we go to that bush, and the things with our parents, that's not. We try to be the same way to take our children away from town.
In the early 1970s, the expansion of the mining industry in northeast Arnhem Land, led by the contentious Nabalco mine in Gove, resulted in nearby towns becoming plagued by alcohol and social breakdown. In response, Aboriginal families began to move away from the destructive influence of the larger settlements, back to their ancestral clan estates. This became known as the Homelands or Outstation movement, and was a critical turning point for Aboriginal self-determination and cultural survival. Today, for those still based in the townships, these homelands are a vital world away, to which frequent visits provide much-needed emotional and cultural well-being.
My skin and my identity within, my knowledge is based upon the land, and they can't take it out. It's like a root in the land.
We learn the most mysterious wonders that this land holds. That's the secret that we are fully rich with. It's the richness that no one can take away from us. It's not only knowing that you own the land, but knowing that the land owns you.
That is our library, that is our university. All that story is back there, back home. It can be only given through the knowledge of our ancestors that actually take us to the land and show where everything is.
It's a worm called mangrove worms. Yeah, we call it lectin. It makes me now we want to eat it now instead of telling stories. My stomach rumbling for it. It's related to me. It's my mother. My mother lectin. When you eat this, it's like it's baked, you go like this.
I like being on the bush. Every time it's too much noise. Some we run bush for tiny. It's yummy.
Area, when we see these flowers like that, that's the time we find it. We chop the tree, then we chop the edges, and inside the trunk, that's where the honey
Pure honey.
is.
They go straight to the honey. You need to survive off the land.
Homelands are more secure because people are in the family, which they're not so vulnerable. They're on a place with authority. On the townships, it's foreign land that cannot nourish themselves on the country. So they take their nourishment from these other things, from the movies, from petrol sniffing, the marijuana, the other drugs that are around.
In 2009, there remains a significant difference in the lifestyle and expectations of people living in urban areas and people living in remote areas. This has to change.
In May 2009, the Northern Territory Government announced its Working Future policy. It deems an estimated 10,000 Aboriginal people living on their traditional homelands to be economically unviable. The policy will freeze funding for services to homelands and gradually force everyone into 20 designated growth towns. The government ignored its own consultations with Aboriginal communities, which had demonstrated overwhelming support for the homelands.
The anger is palpable over the Northern Territory Government's Homelands and Outstations policy.
It's not applicable for homelands, and it's not what we need.
Anger spilled over in Arnhem Land today about the Territory Government's plans to create 20 remote community hubs and freeze funding for hundreds of homelands. At Yilpra, copies of the policy were burned.
Well, this can't be happening. It just comes in different forms. It's the same wave that comes in different forms.
Homelands are of fundamental importance to the survival of our culture. This is very serious.
That's the most important aspect of our life. We are connected to our land. But the government doesn't seem to recognize that. They don't understand our system. The government says that there's going to be limited funding for smaller homelands. People are going to be forced off their land. People are going to be starved off their land.
Like now in the Wana area, like Narapawana, like Matamata, like Umari. But everything there, Narapo. But that's why you have to try to think about it. Bye.
This land is his flesh. His ancestors going back thousands and thousands of years have been in the land. And if he's pulled away from that, it's like ripping out a part of your mind.
In the same week the government announced its homelands policy, the Medical Journal of Australia published a paper showing that Aboriginal people's health is much improved by living and working on homelands.
Working as a general practitioner in a remote community where I serve both outstations and large centralised community, it's plainly obvious to me, seeing what comes through the door, that homelands deliver lots of advantages in terms of health and a healthier lifestyle, where exercise is easier, the diet's better, and people certainly are less stressed.
It's impossible for many of the people that I know to have a future in the central townships, in the centralised towns that have really been created by government for bureaucratic convenience, not for the convenience of the people who live out there, for the old mob.
In 5 years, I want to see private sector investment underway in each of these towns, including private housing, boarding school facilities where appropriate, and the gap closing tangibly on education and health.
In its efforts to improve the lives of Aboriginal people, the government has taken away the very thing that has shown to improve Aboriginal health, the capacity to live on country, whilst promoting the centralising of Aboriginal people into larger townships, already crippled by social dysfunction, poor health and overcrowding.
It's highly disrespectful for government to continue to tell people, this is how you will do things, this is where you will live, this is how we will administer you. People have no future, no positive future, when they're continually directed and pushed from pillar to post and around by government policies.
Why? Who are people? Who are able to get down to who they are this place? You are not
like a nanny dog on a leash in a yard. This is our future, living in a yard like goats, bullocks, and pigs.
I'm not gonna go until the Prime Minister to be your. Is that ridiculous?